You're listening to the Gab Street Podcast, Columbus, Ohio's #1 podcast for underground talent. Every week we have new conversations with interesting individuals who contribute to the Columbus economy and its lively culture. You may find just what you're looking for right in your backyard. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to the Gab Street Podcast. We're here with your favorite co-host,
Zay Krypto.
or however you do it. There you go. I have an example now. Perfect. We're at episode 36.
Oh my god.
This is a very special episode. I have never interviewed a politician. This is insane. So, I'm very honored to introduce Morgan Harper, #Morganize.
Woo!
Who is working on representing the 3rd District of Ohio.
3rd Congressional District.
Okay.
Yep.
In the big leagues, as in the White House. Well, not the White House, but clearly I took a government class in high school.
Same city, Washington,
yes,
D.C.
Washington,
yeah,
D.C.
Okay.
That's what I meant. I'm educated, I'm informed. And I saw that Morgan is making a significant impact on Columbus today. And I was like, I have to hop on this. This is great. So I wanted to ask, so since we are a little bit short on time today, I wanted to focus specifically on Columbus. And Columbus, I know the 3rd District encompasses more than just like downtown Columbus and its general metro area. But let's get a quick rundown, not too, obviously, since again we're low on time. Give us a little bit of your background and why you're doing this.
Yeah. So I was born here in Columbus at the Ohio State University Hospital.
They didn't copyright that.
They did not copyright. We can still feel free to use the definite articles at our leisure. Yeah. I was given up for adoption. I lived in a foster home for 9 months and then was adopted and raised on the east side of Columbus near James Road. And at the time my mom worked in Columbus public school system as a teacher. We went through a lot of financial and family stress, trauma, but it ironically in some ways opened up the opportunity for me to get financial aid to go to Columbus Academy in Gahanna, and really woke me up at age 10 to inequality and how this is the second most economically segregated city in the country, and if you're in the right school district, right zip code, if your parents have money, you're on one course, and otherwise you just have to figure it out. So that struck me as unfair, like I said, at age 10, and I've been on a quest since then to do something about that. And I'm a lawyer, worked in public policy, worked in Washington, all the things, and I just got to a point where I was like, what we need right now to get at these issues are people in Congress in Washington that are ready to fight, and they're free of corporate money, and they could be unbought and unbossed and do something for us. So that's what led me to launch this campaign.
#Morganize.
Yeah.
Yes. I love this. So tell me a little bit about Columbus Academy, because I am not in the know about how that is different from public schooling.
Yeah, when I want to be upfront, in no way was I living in destitute conditions or anything like that. I went to a neighborhood Catholic school on the east side. It was fine, but sometimes we did science, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes, we were using textbooks from the 1970s. Sometimes we were taking out a class to test cereal for consumer research purposes to make money for the school. And I was like, is this a good use of our school day? I don't know, right? And then you get to Columbus. Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was a thing of the 80s and 90s, but that was. I'm a little older than our loved host here, but no, I get to Columbus Academy, and I still remember the first day I pull up, and it's a big campus, almost looks like a college, really, in Gahanna, and I just saw deer hopping on the grounds of the campus. And I was
cool.
like, this was 15 minutes from the only world I knew before this. You get into a science lab for middle schoolers, and you have fish tanks that are bubbling. It's so quiet in the classroom. You can hear all these things. And I was just like, wow, this is a trip. Because, I don't know, I thought everybody was kind of living a life like I was leading. And then you get into this environment. And it's an excellent school, but it's just unlimited resources, every opportunity to focus and pursue whatever your passion is and be successful. And it's a great place, but it's unfortunate that it's such a select few that get to experience that.
And you were able to see both sides of, that economic segregation.
Yeah,
That's really important, if you're running on that
Totally.
platform.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm coming at this, and I'm not a politician in a way, right? I've worked in policy in Washington, but I've never run for anything. And I'm coming at this from a personal place of experiencing what it's like to go in and out of a lot of different worlds. And, I think Columbus is unique in that way that it's a big city, at this point, like 14th largest city in the country, but it's still kind of like a small town. And so if you ever have a reason to get out of your bubble, you're seeing like very different people leading very different kinds of lives, sometimes across the street from one another, right? And that is just wild. And so I had that opportunity as a young person to go in and out of a lot of different worlds, and that never really leaves you.
Yeah, Columbus is a very diverse city.
Yeah.
It is. And a lot of people don't know that, right? But because they're in their bubble. A lot of people are living these like bubble existences here. Yeah. So
we were talking about last episode how we are like the corporate test bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Wendy's tried out the black bean burger here, like straight up, and they didn't really try it anywhere else. So we get the
that didn't work.
Burgers.
The black bean burger.
I guess not. I loved it, and they got
gross.
I haven't tried it. But have you tried the Impossible Burger? That is gonna.
I love those.
Yes, I've been meaning to try that out.
That's gonna change everything because that tastes like a real hamburger.
I don't eat meat.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm into the Impossible Burger.
Is that for the climate crisis?
Well, that aligns with that. But I actually haven't eaten meat since I was in middle school. I just never really liked it. Just, I don't know, something about animals eating.
Fair enough.
You sound just like my mom.
Well, that's very flattering / scary, but
Yeah.
assuming you like your mom.
Yes, I like my mom. She's a great person.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I'm going to go into a couple of... Or first of all, if you want to find a detailed description of Morgan's campaign and the platforms that she likes to talk about, you can go to mh4oh.
mh4oh.org or morganharper.org. And then, on social, it's mh4, the number 4oh on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I was like, are there any other channels around? I think those are the main. People post about us on Snapchat, but we do not have an official campaign Snapchat account.
Okay, good to know.
Right, Achinthia?
Yes.
Yeah. Achinthia is right here, too. Shout out to Achinthia on the team.
Shout out.
Yeah.
The person I corresponded with. To make this happen. Thank you very much. So, because we are a more Columbus-focused podcast, like another podcast might ask you about your federal goals for, everywhere, basically. I wanted to get a little bit more into what you've learned about Columbus specifically through campaigning here that you might not have known before you started doing it. What's something that makes Columbus unique politically that's different from other places?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what makes Columbus unique is one of the things that gave me the confidence that I could pull this off and do this campaign and win is that I believe people here, and that's my real experience, right, is with real people that live here and people I've known, some of them my whole life, that have this innate sense of fairness, of right and wrong, of hard work, and that if you put in the work, you should be getting something for that. And we as a society, I do believe, have gotten away from that and we know that to be true because of, the people I'm meeting every day traveling around the district, like the people that are driving, car share, like Uber drivers, all that are working 2 or 3 jobs and don't have any financial security. So we know that we have gone off track here. And I've just had a strong belief that real people in Columbus would agree with that. And they do believe no matter who you are or, where you've come from, if you're speaking truth to power in a way, that they're going to get behind you. And that's proving to be true through this campaign. So I do think that makes Columbus unique. I think there's a reason why we are the test case is like, people are open-minded in a way, and if you can convince them of something, that you're coming from a genuine place, that what you're saying is true and you're honest and you're trying to do good work, that they'll rally behind you. And so I think that's always made me really grateful for being from Columbus, because it sort of gives you this perspective of possibility in a way, and that people will look out for you. I know that I am only here because of people, institutions in Columbus that came through for me and my family in our most vulnerable moments. And so I think we've got great people, and we need to almost open up the system more so that more people have a platform and a voice to talk about what's really going on. And that feeds into the political sector as well, which is where I'm focused.
Okay. From the perspective of somebody who hasn't really been exposed to other cities, I see Columbus. I mean, we've learned it through doing the show together. is that people from Columbus have a unique talent in believing in things and people.
Yes.
There's a lot of love in Columbus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in the underground music scene. But we don't have to go into that today.
Yeah,
Okay.
It applies to other things too. There's a strong sense of community for the people that actually care.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and we talk about on here, because we mostly interview musicians, and we talk about like moving out to LA or New York, or anything like that, to go into that pond per se, and to, you know, rise on top of everybody else.
Right.
Whereas here, everybody's in the same net. It feels like that. It feels like everybody, like Asia last episode talked about how like it feels like a track race, but you're running with your friends.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You're next
You're
to each
all
other.
looking at the finish line, not at each other.
Exactly.
Right,
And it doesn't matter if somebody gets there ahead of you or not.
Yeah.
You know, you're all going to the same place and
Right.
believe in each other. And I think that is, as far as my perspective can go, that's something that makes Columbus unique in that way.
Oh, totally. I agree with that. And there's a reason why, you know, I have never called anywhere else home. It's like, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Washington, I've lived in California, and it's just something about, once you know true community and you know what that looks like, you can't like forget that. And so nowhere else ever gave me that feeling. I always knew I was going to come back here, and yeah, it's because of that. It's like a really strong sense of community, like y'all are saying, and that people are willing to look out for each other. So that's, you're right. That is really unique about Columbus. And it's one of those things. It's like I said, if people get behind you, if you can go viral here, then you're golden, because you can get people. It's a people-based place, you know? So, true. I love that about Columbus.
On the other side of things.
Yes.
What are some problems that can be fixed at the federal level that are unique to Columbus?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know that I would say the problems are unique, because I think a lot of the power of the federal government, and this is one thing that I'm finding through the campaign, a lot of people don't realize what the federal government could be doing, because we've been brought up in this era, and I know, you know, like I said, I'm 36, okay, so really for the last several decades, we've been brought up in this era where we've been kind of like passively taught that the federal government doing things for us being like real people, is somehow an irresponsible use of resources.
Feel that.
And, not fiscally responsible, whatever,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, so we've seen the outcome of that is like we have a generation of people that really haven't seen what's possible for the federal government to be doing. And in fact, a lot of the issues that we're seeing in Columbus, call it police brutality, income inequality, the environment, people think of these as only local issues in some way, that your only recourse is to go to the mayor or the city council or whatever, or, you know, your neighborhood association, all of that. And it's like, no, I mean, there is a real role. One, these are all systemic issues. And in fact, the federal government is the only level of government that has the resources and the scale to address systemic problems. So I would say that, you know, that these are the issues of our time in some ways, like income inequality, environment, making sure that Black people in this country are able, and in Central Ohio are able to get by. And so we need the federal government to step up in these ways.
So you're trying to shift the mindset of that, focusing on like local municipality government, and only they can fix it, to understanding that the federal can actually do something for them as well.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's a great thing to campaign on.
I only have one question.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
I hope you don't take this the wrong way, because
Sure.
I'm a very pessimistic person.
Okay.
But do you think that there's hope? Because I don't really believe that this country is as democratic as people think it is. I really don't think that when it comes to the federal level, your vote matters. I could have voted 2016, but I didn't, because it was just disgusting.
Yeah.
And do you think, what do you think someone like me can do to actually make a change, make a difference?
Well, and that's why, you know, it's funny, a lot of people when I launched the campaign were like, oh, you know, who is this person? She's crazy. You're gonna like launch a campaign to take on a Democratic incumbent with no party backing and no corporate PAC money.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
Joyce
it's like
Beatty.
right, and you know, and actually once I started this, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I am, and this is in fact the only way I would probably ever be able to launch a political campaign, is because that's what it takes to be free. So the problem with our current system is we have a lot of people in there, Republican, Democrat, whatever they want to call themselves, that are beholden to corporate PAC money. And so therefore, we don't even know what their positions are. They're not actually free to have genuine positions or fight for something because they have to keep all of these donors happy. So grassroots campaign, grassroots candidate, I'm free to do, be unbought, unbossed, and actually just speak my mind. Well, yeah. I mean, that's Morgan, and that's, in fact, the only way I could really pull this off. So, and in fact, that's the only way that we are going to give people like you faith in this system is that, what I'm saying is what I believe, and if I didn't believe it, well, I wouldn't be saying it. And so, and there is a movement now, and that's another reason why I felt it was really important to do this now. There is a movement building across this country to redefine politics, because our generation, I'm going to extend my generation to you all, realizes that, the jig is up on this, right? Like, this has not worked for us, and this is not serving us. And we have a generation that's beholden to student debt, that is not free to actually make decisions about, do you want to move? Do you want to have a family? Do you ever think you're going to buy a house? Are you ever going to be able to retire? No, right? Are these the same issues that our parents were facing? No, we have a completely different outlook, and we have a generation of work to do. And our generation knows that we need to start getting to work right now. So I understand the hopelessness, and I do encounter a lot of people in Columbus and the district I'm talking to who have it, and they see me as, you're not a politician, you're not taking corporate money, and they get that, okay, cool, well, this is actually like flipping the script on what politics can mean for all of us.
Sweet.
Do you like what we do on Gab Street? The best way to support the show is to tell people you know about it, either through social media or word of mouth. Interact with us on social media by way of Instagram at Gab Street Podcast and on Twitter at Gab Street Pod. We now have a Discord server, and the link in our bio on Instagram has a button that acts as an instant Discord invite to it, so if you tap on that, you'll join it immediately. Do you live in Columbus and make music? Please submit your tracks to us at gabstpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll feature your music in between topics with your name in the description of the episode if the episode isn't already an interview of another musician. Thank you for listening to the show. It would be impossible to convey to you how much it really means to see your support. Back to the show.
What have been, who and what have been your biggest motivators throughout the campaign trail?
Well, I would say in terms of motivation, I mean, I've kind of had the motivation my whole life in a way. I've been really, really focused on these issues because...
Pretty innate for you.
Yeah, I think especially when you're adopted, it's just like, I knew my beginning could have gone a million different directions. And so the fortunate things that I've gotten, I am just always trying to think of like, this shouldn't just be for me, because I could have been anybody, and this should be for everybody. And that's really driven me, and once I realized that the system's not set up for that, I'm like, okay, no, I have to correct this, right? ASAP. So that's a huge motivator. And then just meeting people in Columbus that are not doing well, right? That are just struggling, and they're working really hard, and they are good people, and they are smart people, and they deserve better. And we have failed them. We as a political system have failed them.
What have been some unexpected factors in the political process?
Unexpected factors in the political process. Well, honestly, and some people think I'm crazy when I say this, when you launch this kind of thing, it's like, will anyone care, right? And so I launched this, it was like, oh my goodness, immediate media attention, and, people actually expecting me to say things, and it's like, this is going to be on the record. I'm like, on the record? Did I just say that Trump is a disgrace? I'm like, oh God, So yeah, just like getting used to having to be public. A public person is an adjustment, because I've never really done that. So it's different.
Yeah.
Do you always think about that now? Just like whatever you say, someone out there is trying to twist your words and use them against you?
I mean, I'm conscious of it, but at the same time, our communication strategy is pretty much me just speaking my mind, once you start saying, oh, I'm going to run a race outside of the party establishment, it's like, you can kind of do what you want.
Trump is proof that can work.
Yeah, and here's the difference here is like, and we're doing it for good, right? I mean, it being running in a very authentic and truthful way. I don't think he's a truthful person by any means, but we're tapping into people pull ourselves together.
I'm not trying to compare you to Trump. I'm just
that does happen sometimes. I'm like, like a non-politician? Is that just Trump? I'm like, no, not at all. Very, very different things. So
I think politicians need to be more blunt. We need just realness.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I respond to. Right? That's what people want. Is just like, just be real, right? And so. Because then, you can trust people.
And based on the other interview you did with What We Talking About, politicians also need more blunts, apparently. So that's what... Sorry, I just want to put that in there.
No comment.
No comment.
Yeah.
So, totally different route than that joke. So I'm totally just going to...
We should put LSD in the White House's water supply.
Okay, that was not Morgan saying that. That was Zay Krypto saying that. We are going to keep that on the record for him. Anyway, so just a couple more topics I want to go over. First of all, how is the absolute boulder of going against an incumbent for you so far? Because I can imagine, like, I'm not even involved in the process whatsoever, and that makes me scared.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, I was definitely nervous before we launched, but I just
feeling better now.
Yeah. I mean, we believe really strongly, and we have all of these people that are rallying around us and supporting us. So, we've had over 400 people sign up to volunteer. We have a group of, what we're calling like super volunteers, interns that come in almost every day that are out canvassing with us and, knocking doors. So that gives me a lot of belief that people recognize that, even if, we've had our way of doing things, but we need to pivot here, right? Because it's not working, and we're going to get behind you. So, and that's really, I mean, it's a lot of young people that are supporting us, but people of all ages too. And that's what's exciting about the district. It's a big district. It's a lot of Franklin County, but it's really a chance to connect with all the different types of people in Columbus and the diversity of Columbus that is coming together and recognizing the strength of getting politics back on the side of people. So, that I guess makes me more confident too, and more sure that this is the right thing to be doing because people are responding so well.
I'm going to admit on the air that I had to look up the word canvas with 2 S's.
It's good that some people on our team forget their 2 S's, so
really?
You're a step ahead. Yeah.
Well, I saw it on your website on the event, so I actually wrote down a question. I was like, ooh, what's that? And then I was like, wait, that might just be a regular word. And I looked it up, and it said, like, oh, this means, like, getting votes. I'm like, oh, clearly, obviously. Like...
No, it's a good clarification though, because that's the other thing with the campaign is like a lot of this stuff. I feel like the political process has been a little inaccessible for people, right? And if you don't know the right people, if you're not coming from a political family, you don't understand how to get involved in this way. And that's why it was really important to us to we have an office. It's downtown. It's open. Apparently, I'm learning sometimes it's open and unlocked and no one's inside, which is a little disconcerting, but we'll work on that. But really wanting people to feel like, no, this is easy. This is people coming together to just talk to one another, and anybody can have a role in this campaign. So there's a reason why you don't know what canvassing is, because like, how would you, if you never really connected with the political party and all that.
And that ties a lot into education, which I want to hear some of your stances on education, because I've been reading a lot lately about how de-educating, if that's even a word, a population makes them easier to control. And that's alarming because, education is going down the gutter in a lot of states right now, like actively. And we have what's the word? Secretary of Education.
Like south side of Chicago, there's pretty much no education whatsoever.
It's ridiculous. And that gets me scared for the rest of the country because, and that, again, that all ties into the segregation, the economic segregation too, which is, the biggest thing here. Yeah. So the school is everything. Schooling is everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I mean, we know it here in Central Ohio. It's like you have people that are fleeing, the city school district to get into suburban school district because that's how your kids will be safe and get into, good education and all of that. And, that's also part of the reason why I ended up, having financial aid to go to Columbus County. It's like, because my mom didn't want me to be in the city school system. And it's not sustainable. I mean, now what we're seeing is even suburban districts are having segregation, right? Where there's like the good suburban school district and then the not so good one. And that tracks to economic segregation as well. So again, the system's broken, right? Yeah. Funding school systems based on property taxes is not serving children. It is not fair, and we have to stop that. And the way to stop that is have an alternative funding mechanism that is pooling resources at a higher level of government and distributing them equally among all school districts. So that's already been found to be, the current system to be unconstitutional. So now we just need to do something about it.
Okay.
And at the same time, also building communities up through investments, and there can be a lot of federal resources that could be invested into communities so people don't feel like they have to flee, different neighborhoods and create true mixed income communities. So, but that's a big deal. Yeah.
I really like what you're saying. And And I've only met you today, but I like you as a person.
Oh, thank you.
The cynic in me has to ask, how are we going to hold you accountable to what you say? Because so many politicians don't come through on their promises.
Yeah.
And
question.
The accountability question, slipping it in. So here's the thing. I mean, Washington is a complicated place, right? And like you were saying, like, is there hope in this, whole governmental system? My counter to that was, well, if we are going to have any hope in it, it's going to require politicians that are not co-opted by money being in there to actually speak their mind and fight and build coalitions around legislation that's going to positively impact our lives. And so I can't guarantee that every single thing I'm talking about, I'm like, you elect me and tomorrow it's all happening.
It's not all in your... Yeah.
It's not all in my hand. We have to build coalitions around the legislation. But what I can guarantee is that I'm here, I'm fighting, and this is the work of my life, really, and I'm always going to be accessible. We'll have office, you'll DM me on Twitter, it's like I'm responding to messages, and so and continuing to really build community through the exercise of politics. That's how we change the course of our country, and really, that's my goal in doing this, is trying to make politics more accessible and more people driven.
And you were really setting an example, and I think that's one important way that we're revolutionizing the political system today, is that you go up there, you just started in July, and you were saying like, oh, you were nervous at the beginning. Other people hearing that are going to be like, oh, I get nervous too.
Yeah.
And then they're going to also go for that.
Right.
Even if they hear you from like other states and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's great that you're setting an example just like that. I have one hot take question to ask real quick.
Yeah. Hot take. All right.
So we have announced on the show that I am an official member of the Yang Gang.
Uh-huh.
I would like to ask you, how do you feel about Yang's platforms, Andrew Yang's platforms with like UBI and stuff like that?
Right. Yeah, so I have universal income on my platform.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
and the reason why, so I worked at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is a federal agency in DC that focuses on consumer financial products and kind of like the financial health of families, individuals across the country. And we've seen the research, right? Like the Federal Reserve has done it, that $400 shortfalls can derail families financially, leading to evictions and having to get payday loans. And that's stuff that takes like years to recover from, if you ever do, once you're stuck in one of these debt traps.
Yeah.
And I think that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like one of the richest countries in the world. And we have people that don't get $400 that can just, in children that are then, just left to the wind. So I thought that was pretty important to include in the platform, the idea of giving people $1,000, family $1,000 a month, not making it tied to the receipt of other benefits. Because we also see like the benefit cliff situation, that if you get $1,000 more in income, then you don't qualify for certain other types of income or housing supports or whatever. So it's like, no, let's stop the insanity yet again, and just make sure that people aren't getting derailed because of $400 shortfalls. Now, in an ideal world, people are also working living wage jobs, right? That like pay them enough money to cover their basic needs, and also have healthcare that is provided by our government, and I'm missing housing that is also available for all income levels. And so we might not necessarily need solutions like this, but certainly now where we're in this reality of that $400 shortfall situation, no, we need to have universal income to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, fantastic. I have two more questions real quick. Do you have any shout outs to give?
I'm going to give a shout out to the entire Morganizer team locally.
Awesome.
And also really across the country. I mean, this was a big day. We announced our fundraising for the first quarter today.
Nice. And
we had over 2,600 people across the country who contributed to our campaign.
That's awesome.
Average donation under $100. 90% of the people in, or 90% of zip codes that make up this third district. So there are a lot of organizers out there, and I want to give a shout out to all of them for supporting our campaign however they can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Applause.
Thank you. Thank you. We're like returning the cynic.
Yes.
He's smiling.
Come back to our side. And lastly, where can my listeners find you anywhere, either your office downtown and online.
Yeah, so morganharper.org, and actually on the website now we have an events tab, and we try to post where we'll be publicly. So if people want to show up and volunteer and canvas with 2 S's, or just be somewhere where I'm going to speak, or whatever, it's pretty easy to sign up, and then they'll be part of the network and be on our email list. And we have a WhatsApp group now for all our volunteers. So it's really open. Or like I said, just DM me on social media and we'll get them plugged in.
Speaking of mailing lists, if you're on our mailing list, you know what's happening next week. But if you're not, you
suck.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's a good ending.
Thanks, Zay.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you very much for being on the show today.
You.
It's been an honor to meet both of you. And check it out next week, every single Wednesday morning.
Thank you for having me.